Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask SoulBird. My name is Roberta and thank you for tuning in. So today's question is, could you share with us about the instruments or tools that you use in your practice? This is a very wide question to respond to in regards to my shamanic practice, because in some ways I have many tools. Each and every one of them have a personal and soulful story as to the reasons why they are in my life. In other ways, I like to promote and share that actually we can do spiritual work without all the items and without all the tools, and that actually when we look inside ourselves, it is all inside. However, sometimes tools and for shamanism, shamanic practice, have their place, and they have been known and documented to have a particular reaction and action and healing response upon the body and the spirit. So, my darlings, I'm sat here right next to my altar and I'm thinking, which tool would like to be shared with you? And I do want to add here that sometimes tools don't want to be shared with the world. That isn't because we're trying to keep something entirely secret and hidden and therefore creating rather an enigmatic mystery about it. Sometimes they don't want to be shared because they are sacred objects and they are to be used in particular environments, and sometimes, depending on who you are and your particular relationship with spirit, they will require certain circumstances and environments, and so they may not wish to be shared. So today I'm going to simply ask my tools which one wants to be shared. Okay, so today I am going to share this one. Now, this has a couple of different stories associated with it, so I'm going to share them with you. As you can hear, it's an egg shaker. It's a rattle. This was gifted to me in the early stages of my journey when I was becoming a sound therapist. And of course, it's a very simple instrument. It doesn't require much knowledge, but of course you need to get to know the instruments in order to be in deep relationship with them, to use them wisely on others and for the self. So this goes back to my early days of learning to be a sound therapist. And it was the first rattle that I ever brought forth into my world. As you can see, it is just a simple wooden egg shaker, and it's been varnished. And these are probably mass produced. It's not like this was made by someone that I knew. I have plenty of others that have deeper stories in terms of the relationship with the maker of the rattle. But for this one, it doesn't matter. And, you know, it found its way into my life for a reason and for a purpose. And at that time, I thought it's just for my journey in being a sound therapist. But no, it had a greater reason for being in my life. And not least because this is the perfect size for my hand and it's very comfortable. Secondly, I also want to point out the egg shape is deeply symbolic to me, and is probably sitting very deeply in symbolism for you too. I don't need to answer it. What does the egg mean to you? If you were going to jot down what is the symbolism, what does that shape feel like? What does it look like? What does it mean to you in your lifetime? And of course, there's many different associations with this shape. I perceive sometimes our aura in the shape of an egg, and it can be incredibly protective when this egg shape is in place and solid. So my second and more deeply personal journey with this particular egg was when I entered into my next phase of healing, which was on my training to become a shamanic practitioner. And this involved a series of initiations. And one of the first, very profound, in some ways frightening, it was confronting, it was raw, it was wild, it was life-changing. And I went through an initiation which was named the Earth's Embrace. And this is where you dig your own grave and you place yourself in it and you are buried there for a night. When I was building up the courage to show up to this initiation, which was really difficult, and yet I had that sense of knowing inside myself that this is necessary, that this is learning, that this is growth, that this is the experience of what life is. And in order to experience life in its fullest, we need to understand about death. And so as I was approaching that time of the burial, I was invited to question whether I wanted to take anything into my grave with me. And as you may know already, there are many different cultures where items, special items, are brought into the grave with the people. And sometimes those items have particular meaning for their crossing over into the other realm, into the other space, into spirit, fully and wholly. Other times they're ancestral objects. And for me, I considered deeply what do I want to take in? And my burial experience, which I may well delve into and share with you in another video, because it was very moving and it was I feel quite emotional thinking about it. So I will have to consider whether it's appropriate to share with you. Again, those experiences are sometimes words just cannot give the essence of what you experienced. Anyway, you can guess where I'm going with this story. The one item I took into my grave with me was this. Over anything else that I had in my life. And it was this little simple egg shaker. And it was for a very simple but profound reason to me. And it was because this egg represented rebirth. And I knew that I was allowing myself to be embraced in the arms of our mother, Pachamama, Earth Mother, Gaia. I was being cocooned in her womb, surrounded by that rich, nourishing dirt, the soil. And I kept perceiving this grave not as the grave-like shape of my body, but as an egg shape. And so as I was entering into this space, there I was in my cocoon. And I was also holding something of symbolic value to my spirit and soul that was reminding me that I am, yes, here to let go of things that need to die. It was not my time to pass over within that particular initiation, but it was my time to let go of any false perceptions of self that were truly not me, and to lay to rest some of the experiences and traumas that I had experienced in my life. And so this was not a symbol of death, therefore. As I lay in that grave, I held on to it over my heart as a symbol of hope that I too am going to rise out of my cocoon, my egg shape, and I am going to see the sun rise at least one more time again. And, you know, the egg shape as well, symbolic of, we just need to think of chickens, any bird that needs to crack itself out of its egg. Now, I sometimes see that we can create blockages, we can create walls of boundaries, but boundaries that are causing actually an inability for us to energetically breathe, to have space. These might be, you know, formed of our negative belief systems. It may well be belief systems we've taken on from our families, and it could be things that have been projected upon us from others. But this can sometimes create a solidity around us and sometimes within us energetically that is causing us to feel this resistance to life, and it stops us from flowing with the natural rivers of life, and therefore being able to say yes to life. And rather, we are saying no because we have these stories created around particular people, particular circumstances, whatever it is. And so sometimes we can find ourselves sat inside that egg and we're refusing to leave that space. When we remain in that self-created form, then we are in essence suffocating ourselves because we no longer can see clearly, we can no longer feel clearly. So, like the chick, and in my experience, it was up to me as that young chickling cracking out of the egg that needed to release me into the wild, back into life again. This was a rebirthing initiation from, yes, life to death, back to life again. And this stayed with me all night long. And it is something that is profoundly sacred to my journey. And so fast forwarding the time, this egg still exists in my life and has become, because of the experience that I have had with this and the reasons why it found me, the spirit of this object found me and imparted its wisdom upon my heart. It is now a sacred object that is used in my shamanic practice as a tool in order to activate that sense of rebirth. And commonly when people are coming for shamanic healings, we are often trying to strip ourselves of the things that are weighing us down. And so this egg comes into play with that particular quality of frequency that this object has experienced with me in journeying through the birth canal from death to birth, from birth to death, from death to birth. And so this is the spirit of the lessons that this particular tool can impart to those who are receiving shamanic healing. So my darlings, I hope that that has been interesting for you. I would love to hear about any objects or sacred items that you have found have lived with you, with your heart throughout your life, that are associated with great times of change, maybe an initiation that you too have gone through. It doesn't have to be a burial, but we ourselves go through those initiations throughout our lives. And sometimes without encouraging us to be hoarders, because that can also be something that weighs us down, but to hold on to and have these physical reminders of that symbolic dream time information bubble up to the surface because we have this item in our life. This is like the key that unlocks that psychic, very special and alchemical healing response within us, because we get to remind ourselves of that experience and why this item exists in our life in the first place. Thank you for listening, my darlings, and I will see you on the next Ask SoulBird episode. Thank you.